Hey there, this is SXE Blues, and I'm bringing you part 6 to my Star Trek film retrospective, looking at the 11 Star Trek films. This is part 6, as I said, dealing with the Undiscovered Country. And, this was the film that featured the last, was the last time that all 7 of the original cast members were in one movie. And for that reason it's memorable alone, but the story was really good, and written and or directed by Nicholas Meyer, who also worked on Wrath of Khan, I believe. And so it's one of the good ones, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. Thanks for watching. The first scene I'm going to mention comes how the movie starts, essentially. We have the explosion of the Klingon, the planet within Klingon boundaries, Praxis, and what transpires is like a shock wave ripples outward and eventually catches up to Captain Sulu aboard the Excelsior, and knocks his ship for a loop. And I remember, I believe I saw this one in the theater, and I vaguely remember just the crazy purplish energy barrier of the shockwave coming toward the ship, and the way it smacks the ship, and all hell breaks loose inside. And the fact that it was great seeing Sulu as a captain of his own vessel. And it definitely starts the movie with a bang. And there's this funny little bit of dialogue where Janice Rand turns around and says, do we phone this one in, essentially? And Sulu, after getting back into his captain chair, looks at her kind of like huffingly, just going, "Are you kidding me?" Hell yes, But, so yeah, it starts the movie off with a bang, and the special effects, the visuals are really impressive. It really pulled me in right away. So, but then a little further into the movie, when Spock has brought up the idea of using Kirk and crew and the Enterprise as the liaison between which they will try to begin peace talks between the Klingons and the Federation, and it's their little sort of dinner date with the Klingons, Chancellor Gorkin, who's the lead Klingon, the leader on the Klingon side that wants to bring peace, and who's been working with Spock, and this is like their first face-to-face meeting. And then there's General Chang, who is the subsequent baddie of the piece. More on that later, but it's just an interesting scene to see, and the funny reference to you don't know Shakespeare until you've read the original Klingon, purporting that Shakespeare was actually a Klingon, but it's there's a little bit of tension in it, and it's a little it's just interesting. These two cultures that have nothing but clashed many times over, and the distrust that Kirk feels toward the Klingons, which I referenced back in my Star Trek 3 retrospective, after the death of his son, the murder of his son by Klingons. And so, yeah, it's an interesting scene. Immediately following this, shots are fired, seemingly from the Enterprise, toward the Klingon ship, and people from wearing Federation garb go over and start shooting the place up. They shoot Gorkin, and when everything stabilizes, Kirk and McCoy beam over to find out what's happened, and they try to save Gorkin's life, but Gorkin dies. And as a result, the scene I want to mention comes when they are essentially put on trial, as McCoy says we've been set up, and essentially that was the plan: take them out for the count, because there are greater machinations happening throughout the movie, which, as it turns out, leads to a conspiracy. But more on that later. But the scene is, when they've gone to the prison planet Rura Penthe, and it's what I like to call the fight of the Turks. There's this Kamaloid, aka a shapeshifter, who tries to win their confidence, Kirk and McCoy's, and promises to lead them out and get them out of there. And but it unfolds all too conveniently, and Kirk notices this, and so there's a fight between the shapeshifter, who takes the form of Kirk, and there's a funny little moment where Turk says, "I can't believe I kissed you," and the shapeshifter said, "Must have been your lifelong ambition," because, of course, Kirk is the constant flirting ladies' man, and I think it also harkens to the real-world estimation that I've heard from certain circles about Shatner being full of himself, and but it's humorous, and at the same time, it harkens back to the original series again, because there's the don't remember the name of the episode, but they go to a psychiatric hospital planet type thing to check on things that are going on there, and one of the former captains, a former fleet captain, who has the ability to change shape and change appearance in a similar fashion, takes on Kirk's persona, and there's a point where Spock has to decide which Kirk is the real Kirk, and this is like the big screen version of that, only it's McCoy fighting to keep his wits about him as it all unfolds, and so they get away, and back onto the main plot, the conspiracy unfolding, with the next scene that I want to mention is Kirk, and once Kirk and McCoy have been rescued by the Enterprise and Spock, and there's a point where Kirk brings Spock over into the corner, and they're sort of whispering about a theory Kirk has about who could be involved, and so ultimately they catch the thief red-handed, so to speak. Turns out to be the Vulcan female and Vulcan apprentice, seemingly to Spock, Valeris, who is the one of three key conspirators involved on board the Enterprise. The other two were killed, but Spock forcibly mind melds with Valeris, and it's interesting because I'm a fan of Star Trek Enterprise, and they kind of, looked at the idea of mind melds in the time period that Enterprise takes place in, which is like 150 years or something before the original series. So quite a while before, but there was a story element of how this sort of meeting of the minds could be, akin to a sort of rape, and for the Undiscovered Country, this does not merely skirt the line of that. It very much, the way the scene unfolds, comes across as being almost a sort of mental raping, but arguably for the greater good. But it's somewhat of a shocking thing to see in a Star Trek film and on the big screen, when Spock forcibly tries to get this information from Valeris, and so it's a little disconcerting, and although notably with the scene, I prefer the director's cut of like the first and second movies as well as the sixth, because with the director's cut you get an extra segment when Valeris is naming off the conspirators, whereas in the theatrical they didn't have this, I believe, or at least the first release didn't have. There are these flashes back to the characters she's referencing, for those who forgot, who they're talking about or don't know who they're talking about. but that's notable. The second to last scene I want to mention is when Sulu has been apprised of the situation, and the Enterprise and the Excelsior are both on their way to Kittimer, where the peace talks are happening, and they're trying to catch up with Chang. And so there's this great, Excelsior Enterprise shoot 'em up between the three ships, and of course Chang is, being the master stroke tactician. He's got a Klingon bird of prey that can cloak and fire at the same time, which is, for all intents and purposes, in the movies and in the Star Trek chronology, if you will, the first time such a ship exists, and so he uses it to the fullest advantage. But through Spock and McCoy's, modifying a photon torpedo, they end up being able to use it like a heat seeker and find where the ship is located. And I just love the moment when the Excelsior gets there, and they just start pummeling the hell out of this Klingon bird of prey, and take Chang out. So this segues on to the final scene of the movie that I want to mention, but it's also the actual final scene of the movie, second to final scene technically. But when the conspiracy is uncovered, and the most monumental point of how it's uncovered for me personally is when the guy, I don't remember what his rank is, but like General Commodore or something, West, as portrayed by, I'm never going to get the pronunciation of his name right, but the guy who played Odo on Deep Space Nine. Here he is sans Odo makeup with a mustache, and he's like the chief military liaison to the President of the Federation, and he is in a Klingon disguise. And I think it's Scotty who walks in and catches him just as he's sort of getting ready to go, assassin on the Federation president, and phaser blasts this guy, and he falls out of a window. And when they walk up to him, they realize he's wearing this Klingon mask, and they reveal, and the ramifications of what this means at this point in the story and in the movie, that all along there are, people trying to instigate the marriage, the peaceful marriage of these two cultures who have conflicted for so long, and yet right under the nose of everyone, there is a successful marriage between the two worlds, only their goal is to keep them apart. And so that's, it makes for a really awesome movie, really awesome story. And as I said earlier, this is the last time the main seven from the original series are on screen together, and it's just a great way to, a great swan song, so to speak, for them. So I'll be moving on to the first of the 4 next-gen movies next, and please stay tuned, and see you later. Peace.